Hello everybody and welcome back. It is Monday, May 31st, 2021, and you are listening to episode 114 of the Can I Say Something podcast. I am your host and recluse with a juicy caboose, Damien. Joining me today is myself, and I. Today in the show, I will be discussing, with possible spoilers for everything involved, Le Bureau finale, the Expanse books and television show, The Mitchells vs. the Machine, and much, much more. Right into the show, bicycle@gmail.com, bicycle on Twitter, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, rate and review it on Apple Podcast. Tell a friend, family member, stranger. First up, we have The Bureau finale. Finally finished it. It's 5 seasons, 10 episodes apiece. It is now streaming currently on Sundance Plus or AMC Plus. Stars a bunch of French men and women, specifically Matthew Kassovitz, who plays Meltrol, Sarah Girardou, who plays Marina Lesso, Zineb Triki, who plays Nadia Almajour. Bunch of French people in the show. Very French show. Very good show. Very, very good show. One of the best spy shows I've seen in a very long time. I'm a huge fan of the spy genre in particular. I love Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I love all the John le Carré novels. Somewhat of a fan of the James Bond franchise, even though that's much more of an action franchise than it is a spy genre film series. But still enjoy those very much. This concluded this past year in 2020, the last year actually. So it was very good. The stuff that I enjoyed most was the spycraft, was the in the field stuff of people gathering sources, gathering information, pretending to be other people, the sort of triple twists of this person is working for the DGSE and they're also working pretending to be a seismologist, for example, with the Marina storyline. She was a seismologist who got employed by the DGSE, the French intelligence service, and then she goes to Iran to pretend to be a seismologist while she's actually gathering data on people down there. It's a very, very good show. It is a show about the interpersonal conflicts between the characters themselves while doing their work, trying to care about the people they work with while not simultaneously conflicting with their work, trying not to compromise any of the missions they're on. So there's a lot of that going on in the show. One thing I did not like about the show, there's sort of two main factors of the show that you really have to enjoy both equally to get the most out of the show. The first one I just talked about, which was the spycraft, the workman life of a spy in modern day France, in the modern day world. Secondly is the love story between Matthew Kassovitz and Zineb Triki's character, the Paul and Nadia storyline, their love story. It was brought to my attention recently by the Watch podcast, one of the best podcasts I listened to recently, with Chris Ryan and Andy Greenwald. They're also watching the show and also putting out podcasts about it, about their reactions to it, their feelings about it. And they were saying recently that the French have a term for basically crazy love, amour fou, or also faux amorex, crazy in love. Great Beyonce song. But that's what the show is really dealing with also, is a very dedicated man, dedicated to his craft, dedicated to his country and his job and the people that he works with. He's dedicated to them, but also is fallen madly in love with Paul has fallen madly in love with Nadia, and how he's dealing with that, and how he is going well out of his way, putting himself in a lot of danger over and over again, putting himself physically in risk, putting himself at risk for losing his job, putting a lot of his coworkers at risk as well, forcing his coworkers to put themselves in danger to rescue him multiple times throughout the series, just to make sure that Nadia is safe. And I feel like generally I didn't fully buy into their relationship because Nadia was either intentionally written as a naive, oblivious, obtuse character, or that was done by accident. Either way, I feel like she was involved in very high level political meetings with the Syrian government. She's Syrian. He met her in Palestine, and throughout the series, she gets a little bit smarter, gets a bit more creative, gets a bit more cynical about the way the world works, gets a bit more world weary, starts to understand how things operate, except that she doesn't also at the same time. She's also very oblivious to what's going on around her, specifically a scene I talked about a few weeks ago, which was she's in an elevator being scanned up and down with a metal detector by one of Paul's coworkers before they have a meeting. And she is just oblivious to the fact that somebody is near her. Later on, she gets a little bit more acute awareness about her surroundings later on in season 3 and 4. But the end of the series, spoiler alert for the series, she's killed in cold blood and shot in her car. She has just come back from dropping Paul off, or seeing Paul dropping off his daughter. And she knows that she's still in a lot of danger. She's been involved in this very high stakes world of spy work, and she knows that people are out to get her and out to get Paul and out to get his daughter. And a man she's at a stoplight, she's at a red light, just completely oblivious to the world around her. Guy just walks up to her. Behind her, she could easily check her rear view mirror and know that he's there, but she just gets assassinated very easily. And I feel like her being in this world for 5 years at least should give her some sort of better awareness, better spatial awareness of danger around her. And she just didn't show any of that. Didn't show much improvement in that area throughout the series. So that was a bit of a downer there. But yeah, very, very, very good series overall. It is now streaming on Sundance Plus. Next up, we have The Expanse. I have been fully caught up to the books thus far. The last book I read was book 7. Book 8, actually. I finished book 8 fairly recently, Tiamat's Wrath. This is planned to be a 9-book series, with the last book, Leviathan Falls, coming out this year, 2021, November 16th, 2021. So as of this recording, still have about 5-6 months to wait for that one. It is a very, very good series. One of the best sci-fi, hard sci-fi series I've read in a very long time. Some people are asking me, what is hard sci-fi? What's the difference between hard sci-fi and soft sci-fi, I guess is what you would call it, what the other side of that would be. So hard sci-fi, if you've seen any movies like The Martian or Interstellar, those are very good examples of hard sci-fi, which is, this ship has a drive, that has fuel, it has all these things that are very relatable and known to people, to people right now. It has, things break, things are dirty. It's relying on somewhat relevant technology right now, as compared to something like Star Trek or Star Wars, where they have, light speed travel has been a thing for hundreds of years. You have lightsabers, you have, Star Trek, you have replicators, things that can make things out of nothing. It's very not related to any sort of, it's not grounded, it's not related to any sort of technology that we have right now. It's many, many, many years in the future, and it's just stuff like Star Wars and Star Trek and Dune do not have any sort of relative technology that is based on anything we have right now. So those are the kind of two different schools of thought when you're talking about sci-fi. So The Expanse is very much hard sci-fi. They're talking about specifically like Epstein drives, where a guy in 200 years in the future will make a drive that makes it so you are traveling at close to light speed and traveling at speeds fast enough so you can make travel between the planets somewhat possible. When you're talking about, right now it takes months and months to get from here to Mars. They're saying in the future it'll only take weeks. So it's very much more habitable, more much more physically possible to travel between the planets in the future because of the Epstein drive, which was unfortunately named. I wouldn't have named it that, considering Jeffrey Epstein and all the things involved there. But anyways, so the Expanse, I've caught up to the books. I'm all caught up with the books. I read book 8, book 8, Tiamat's Wrath. Leviathan the Fall is coming out later this year. And I am on season 4. I'm about in the 4th episode of season 4. It is one of the best shows I've seen on TV dealing with sci-fi in a very long time. So it stars, you have Stephen Strait as Jim Holden, basically the main protagonist of the Expanse books in the series, the TV series. You have Wes Chatham as Amos Burton, is the muscle and the sort of gunnery guy of the ship of the Rocinante. You have his girlfriend Naomi Nagata, played by Dominique Tipper. Then you have Cass Anvar, playing Alex Kamal, who is the pilot of the Rocinante. You have some really great characters that I love from the books. Christian Avasarala, played by Shodran Adgadshalu. Sounds like that, maybe, hopefully. So I have some other actors that more famous than others. Thomas Jane plays Joe Miller. Thomas Jane played The Punisher in two movies, I believe. Also in The Mist, also played Mickey Mantle in 61. You have some guest stars in this series. You have David Strathairn playing Commander Khalees Ashford. You have Bern Gorman playing Adolphus Murty. He's in the current season that I'm watching right now. You have Jared Harris playing Anderson Dawes. So there's a few people in this show that pop up that are notable actors. Very, very good show. Production value is very, very well done. Amazon bought this a few years ago and put the sheen on the whole show. I have a HDR 4K television, and it uses all of that. It uses all of that tech very well. So the show overall and the book series overall is really the overall themes of the book and the show are about the ways in which military power and who wields it and whose boot is on whose neck, how it can drastically change the dynamic of any civilization. At the start of the series, you have Earth and Mars. They have equal majority of capital, of funds, of money, almost equal shares of the military power and influence over the outer colonies. And the outer colonies have sort of joined together in this loose affiliation called the OPA, the Outer Planetary Alliance. This and the last book I've read, let me just go through the Wikipedia entry here for the series overall. The Expanse is set in the future in which humanity has colonized much of the solar system, but does not yet have interstellar travel. Travel between the vast distances between planets of the solar system has been made possible with the Epstein drive, which I already talked about, though the G-forces exerted during acceleration is debilitating without the use of special drugs. In the asteroid belt and beyond, tensions are rising between Earth's nations, United Nations, Mars, and the other planets, the OPA. The residents of the outer planets have developed a Creole language due to their physical isolation to Earth and Mars. The series initially takes place in the solar system using many real locations such as Ceres and Eros in the asteroid belt, including several moons of Jupiter, with Ganymede and Europa being the most developed, and small science bases are thus far out as Phoebe around Saturn and Titania around Uranus, as well as established domed settlements on Mars and the Moon. So that's about the overall plot points of the series. One more thing about the series and books overall, I was reading the newest one, Precipitous, or the second newest one, Precipitous Rising, which is the 8th book, the 7th book in the series. It must have been tough reading it because it came out around the time of the 2016 elections with Donald Trump winning that election. It must have been tough reading it because the book, the main thrust of the book is a totalitarian government takes over the entire solar system. Led by the Winston Duarte. He led the Laconian Empire, which it was used alien technology to outfit their already highly advanced military technology. As the series progresses, the scale of power shifts to the Free Navy, led by Marcos Inaros, later to the Laconian Empire, led by Winston Duarte. Every time the usurper being whoever has the biggest, most organized, and most advanced stick, or weapons, or guns, or whatever you want to call them. At the same time, there's a dead alien technology that is slowly coming back online, and Holden, the main antagonist of the show, has to figure out who killed its maker. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this book and TV series all at once. It's a very good, very, very good show. Highly recommended. It's now streaming on Amazon Prime. Moving on to another show I've been very much enjoying. The series finale is tomorrow night, so I might talk about that after the premiere. Mayor of Easttown, M-A-R-E of Easttown. I know every time I say it, it sounds like I'm saying Mayor of Easttown, which is actually mare, like a horse of Easttown. This show is one of the best crime dramas I have seen in a very, very long time. It has a stellar cast led by Kate Winslet, who is acting her metaphorical balls off. The high-level synopsis of the show is that it is about a murder case gone cold, a one-year murder case gone cold, and then two girls go missing during the show itself. A year later, and lead detective Mayor Sheehan's attempt to solve the case. But the show is actually the theme of the show. One of the major themes of the show is about the show is very much interested in exploring the ways in which people and communities are forced to come together to keep an eye on each other, due in part to a systemic failings at every level of government and law enforcement when it comes to addressing ongoing pandemics such as the opioid crisis. A lot of allusions to mental illness and people addicted to methamphetamines and opioids and things like that. So very, very good show. Very well shot, very well acted. Highly recommend Mayor of Easttown. Moving on, got The Mitchells versus the Machines. This came out about 3 weeks ago. Would love to talk to some people about this as well. This is one of the best movies I've seen in a very, very long time. The 2021 American computer animated science fiction comedy film produced by Sony Pictures Animation. The film was directed by Mike Rianda in his feature directorial debut. Co-directed by Jeff Rowe and written by Rianda and Rowe, with Phil Lord and Christopher Miller and Kurt Albrecht serving as producers. And if those names sound familiar, it's because they are the writers and directors of such things as the Lego movies, the series of those. They also directed or helped direct Into the Spider-Verse. So Mitchell vs. the Machines very much has that sort of whimsy and fast-paced jokes a minute sort of deal. Very much reminds me of the movies from the 70s and 80s, the Zucker Brothers movies, Airplane, Top Secret, and the Naked Gun films. This movie is directed by Mike Rianda, stars Abby Jacobson as Katie, Danny McBride as the father, Rick, Maya Rudolph as the mother, Linda. Mike Rianda, the director and writer of this movie, voiced Aaron, the Furbies, the Talking Dog, and the Wi-Fi Enthusiast. This also stars Eric Andre as Mark. You have Olivia Colman, love her, as Pal, P-A-L, the voice of Pal. Fred Emerson as Deborah Runt, 5000. You have Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. Blake Griffin is Pal Max Prime. Conan O'Brien stars as Glaxon 5000. I really, really love this movie. It has a lot of heart too. It is about the daughter the daughter and the father trying to reconnect. She's very much her own person and likes to be on her own and shoots a lot of low budget short films and movies. And it's very much about that. It's father and daughter trying to connect at the end there. Really, really lovely little movie. One of my favorites so far this year. Moving on to something that wasn't one of my favorite things this year was Love, Death, and Robots, Season 2. This is a massive, massive drop-off in quality from the first season. So what I'll do is just talk a little bit about the stuff I liked about Season 1 and compare it to Season 2 and just explain why I felt that it fell off so hard. The first episode of the first season, Sony's Edge, it's about a underground world of beastie fights. And it turns out, a lot of the series, a lot of the first series had really great twists. I don't think a story should have to rely on its twists to be a good, compelling story. But a lot of these twists are what make the episode so great in and of itself. Sony's Edge, it turns out the little girl was the monster all along. You think throughout the episode that she is controlling the monster, but ends up the monster is actually controlling her. You have 3 robots, which was a fine one. The Witness is one of my favorite ones from the first season, where a woman sees a brutal murder across the streets, rear window style. And it turns out that she is the one actually being murdered. It sort of loops in on itself at the end there. That was very good. The 4th episode, Suits. I will quote a article I found here about this series overall. Suits is assembled like one of the outfitted rigs that its main character takes into battle. Take a rural farm landscape, a 90s action thriller spirit, and a portal to another dimension. And when you put them all together, you get one of the collection's most purely entertaining shorts. Even in the compressed time frame and with so much action to get through, the fact that Frank Balson and the Blur Studios team find quick, efficient ways to differentiate the members of this ad hoc squadron and tap into a symmetry for the loved ones that they leave behind is no easy feat. It's also one of the rare installments in this collection to hit the title trifecta in three different meaningful ways, all up to the final reframing parting shot. So that was a very good way of saying that, good way of putting that. Episode 5 was Sucker of Souls. Don't actually remember that one. They got a 6.5 on IMDb, so that's probably why. When the Yogurt Took Over. This is a really great one. I remember liking this one a lot. Had very much of a spaghetti and the meatballs. What was that movie? Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Very much reminiscent of the Mitchells versus the Machines sort of theme I was talking about just a second ago. Beyond the Aquila Rift is another one, is one of the most hard-hitting ones, left a huge mark on me when I finished that one. So again, I'll quote this article here written on IndieWire by Steve Green. Another filmmaking team with work appearing in both seasons, Léon Brial, Dominique Boyden, Remy Cotstra, and Maxime Leroux certainly leave an impression with their first entry. What begins as a sensual post-space hibernation encounter clues the audience into the idea that things on board this ship might not be as they seem. The story works on a reconnecting with an old flame level that it's all the more jarring when some fantasy alarm bells really start going off. To the extent that a handful of frames can define an entire piece of work, any short with the ending reveal here has to be near the top of this list. It's as easy for any viewer to give the same "how bad can it really be" reaction that Tom has when he asks to see the real interior of the ship. But that red-tangled monstrosity, complete with the lifeless corpses of the rest of Tom's crew, is certainly the most haunting single image in the entire show's run so far. And I would highly agree with that sentiment there. Yeah, just oof. If you haven't seen it, spoilers for this episode and for this whole everything in the show, everything I'm talking about here. But he was traveling in deep, deep space, and there's apparently some sort of arachnid type creature that snares any sort of ship that gets too close to it in its web. The horrifying reveal at the end. Absolutely terrifying. So moving on to, what do we got here? Good Hunting. I love that one. It's about the son of a spirit hunter forges a bond with a shape-shifting Huli Jing. Very, very good one. The Dump was number 9. Got a 6.3. I remember liking that one a lot. It was about Ugly Dave calls the garbage dump home, and he's not about to let some silly city slicker take it away from him. So that was about, I think an city inspector comes to the dump, and there was some sort of autonomous machine creature living in his dump that kills the city inspector. Shapeshifters, number 10. Deep in Afghanistan, 2 Marines with supernatural powers face a threat from one of their own kind, which was a fantastic one. I love that one. Helping Hand was a very Outer Limits, Twilight Zone-y sort of twist storyline here. Stranded in orbit, an astronaut must choose between life and limb before oxygen runs out. So what happens here is this astronaut is on the outside of her ship doing some repair work, and I think she gets hit by something or something spooks her, but somehow she gets separated from her ship, no lifeline or anything, so she doesn't have any sort of oxygen or air left in her suit to sort of push her back to the ship. So she ends up taking her hand off, her glove off, and freezing her hand, snapping her hand off, and throwing it in the opposite direction that she has to go to get her back to her ship. So that was extremely upsetting episode there. Fish Night, they got a 6.4 on here. I like this one a lot. After their car breaks down in the desert, 2 salesmen take a dreamlike voyage to the dawn of time. Very, very ethereal, very dreamlike imagery here in this one. I like that one a lot. Number 13 is Lucky 13. After their dropship, Lucky 13 loses 2 crew members. No pilot would fly her, but rookies don't get a choice. I believe there was an article here written about this one. Let me see here. Written by Steve Green. Lucky 13, he writes here, quote, voiceover narration is always a tricky prospect in one of these shorts. Often working from a foundation of short fiction, it's easy to see why these adaptations would want to preserve some of that in the final product. Lucky 13 is brimming with so many other exacting technical achievements that you hardly need those spoken explanations to fill in any gaps. There's a care and depth in what Samara Wiley brings to her pilot character, not to mention Daisuke Tsuji's too, that elevates Lucky 13 from being pure exercise. It also benefits from a touch of the metaphysical, bringing in a dash of the unexpected for even inhabitants of this future world filled with planet evacuations and deadly fighter pilot missions. So a lot of these are, and this one included, especially in season 2, use this sort of very, very high resolution, high production value CGI. If you ever saw anything like Final Fantasy Spirits Within, or a lot of the Animatrix shorts used this sort of they used the Unreal Engine, which has been used for about 2 decades now. So it's used a lot in making video games, but most recently it's been used in The Mandalorian and Westworld productions. Just reading from the Wikipedia article, the Unreal Engine has found use in filmmaking to create visual sets that can track with a camera's motion around actors and objects and be rendered in real time to large LED screens and atmospheric lighting systems. This allows for real-time composition of shots, immediate editing of the virtual sets as needed, and the ability to shoot multiple scenes within a short period by just changing the virtual world behind the actors. That wasn't exactly what I was talking about. A lot of movies and shorts and animation has been using the Unreal Engine for a very long time, and it's sort of a system in which you can definitely see it when you definitely notice it when it's being used to full effect in a lot of these shorts, and Lucky 13 was one of them. Let's see what else we got. Zima Blue. So this is one of my favorites, one of the best overall, I think. If you ask anybody that really loved the series, the first Love, Death, Robots series, they'll mention Zima Blue. And I'll quote here again from the article. With so many of these shorts aiming for a specific level of hyperrealism, seeing one of these shorts embrace a more fluid, stylized animation approach feels like a breath of fresh air. So I'll just stop right there. That's definitely one of the things that was missing from season 2 was a variety of artistic styles. Going back to the article, Robert Valley's Art Deco tinged look into the future, also gorgeously realized in Season 2 installment Ice, converges around a single fictional artist of the future. Evolving in a series of murals with increasingly impossible dimensions, the slow reveal of the painter's true identity is the greatest Zima Blue reveal. The ability to transform something so banal into something this contemplative and creatively ambitious marks the best of what Love, Death, and Robots has to offer. All credit is due to Kevin Michael Richardson, who managed to bring a distinct emotional core to Zima himself. One of the best shorts there, one of the best just animated shorts I've seen in a very long time. Zima Blue is incredible. Number 15 was Blind Spot, pretty typical story there. It's about a gang of robot thieves stage a high-speed heist of a heavily armored convoy. That was fine. One of the ones I really, really liked was Ice Age. It's about a young couple who moved into an apartment and finds a lost civilization inside their antique freezer. That was a great one. Alternative Histories was number 17. Want to see Hitler die in a variety of comical, fantastical ways? Now you can. Welcome to Multiversity, which was it was fine. Got a 6.4, and I think it deserved that. And the final one was The Secret War. Elite units of the Red Army fight an unholy evil deep in the ancient forest of Siberia. So again, I'll allow Steve Green to talk about why he liked this one. So much of the show is dependent on scale. There's the pack the frame approach that can sometimes make the end result feel overstuffed, but overwhelming is absolutely the goal in this short film from Istvav Zgorsky and Dijik Pictures. Its survival stripped down to its rarest form, one that also runs through Suits and the Tall Grass, and the other Love, Death, and Robot chapters that feature some kind of zombie-like figure. The Secret War takes just enough time to acknowledge where these ravenous hordes come from. They're a byproduct of an act of hubris, a theme applied just as well for many of the robot stories too. When the Secret War ends against a lush, snow-drenched natural backdrop, it's not with triumph. The final standoff and the epilogue carpet bombing aren't delivered with a sense of that this destruction is especially fulfilling. The short almost feels defeated as Zakhanov. That sense of exhaustion ends up being an effective series counterbalance. So yeah, I remember enjoying this one very much. Again, what he was just talking about there, the scope and the scale of this short was a good departure from a lot of these, which take place in sort of cramped quarters. A lot of these take place in space, in very cramped quarters. So it was very much a welcome change from a lot of the other stories. So that was my look back on season 1 of Love, Death, and Robots. So season 2, let me just talk about why season 2 was a massive drop-off from season 1. Just starting off with the first episode, Automated Customer Service. The synopsis is, some senior citizens are lucky enough to enjoy their golden years in tomorrow's high-tech assisted living communities. They pursue relaxation, their every need taken care of, until their robot servants decide to kill them. So just from that synopsis, it's very much a samey sort of mid-tier idea of, robots going to kill us and we got to fight back. All right, cool. Number 2 is Ice. This is the one referenced in the first season from Zima Blue, from the same artistic guys that made Zima Blue. Ice is about in a future where many humans are enhanced with extraordinary strength and endurance. The quote-unquote unmodded feel left behind. This class conflict drives a rift between two brothers that puts their lives at risk during a dangerous race. I will say this episode had some interesting aesthetics to it. The whales breaching the ice cover was very interesting, of the lake or sea, wherever they were at. That was a very interesting look to it. But overall, just didn't have that much going for it, as opposed to something like Zima Blue. Didn't have a real, overall theme to it. Didn't have anything going on underneath the hood, as they say. Next up, we have episode 3, Pop Squad. The synopsis is, in a future where resources are controlled by the rich, quote-unquote unregistered offspring or forced or forbidden by the state. A police officer charged with enforcing population control faces a crisis of conscience. So again, it's that very tropey sort of idea of, the cop, the police, the state-run police, state-sanctioned violence put on this guy's shoulders, makes him sort of wake up and question why he's doing what he's doing. And that's a story you can tell, but telling it in a more interesting way would have benefited this story. But I will say I kind of wanted to see more of that story. I think that was part of the reason I didn't like it that much, was that it ended too quickly. I feel like that character and that world felt very much lived in and felt really thought out. And I feel like there's probably going to be more from this short. I hope so, because that character and what he went through seems very interesting to me. So next up we have Snow in the Desert. Synopsis is: on an arid, scorched planet at the edge of the galactic civilization, an ageless albino named Snow is hunted by an assortment of hired killers. But after a beautiful stranger named Harold saves his life, she reveals her plans for him. This was fine. Again, these are all sort of fine. They're good, not great. No twist. Again, the thing doesn't need a twist to be interesting, but I feel like these are all sort of just straight ahead stories of, this one's about a guy who just is hunted by some serial killer or assassins, and then he has to survive, and he does, and that's it. So not much going on there either. Number 5 is called not in the tall grass, just the tall grass. Synopsis is: when a train makes an unscheduled stop in the middle of nowhere, a lone stranger is lured into the surrounding fields by ethereal lights. But his curiosity may prove deadly when he discovers the hellish source of the illumination. Again, just fine. Just fine. No real stuff going on underneath the hood. Again, just straight ahead. Guy gets trapped in the field, some cornfield, and is attacked by some weird things. And the conductor of the train is like, "Don't go out there again, boy. There's danger out there. I told you to stay on the train, boy. What you doing out there?" Just fine. Again, number 6, fine again. All through the house. The synopsis for this episode is: on Christmas Eve, a young girl and her little brother lie awake. When a jingle of bells announces St. Nick's arrival, they sneak downstairs hoping to catch a glimpse of the mythical gift giver, but find something unexpected. And it was fine. It's just that. That synopsis is that. Number 7 is Life Hutch. When his ship is damaged in battle, a combat pilot crash lands on a desolate planet. Fortunately, there's an automated shelter on the surface that he can take refuge in until rescue arrives, if he can survive that long. Mr. Steve Green has a synopsis here. Talks about it here a little bit. Let's see what he says, because I again wasn't impressed by this very much. Michael B. Jordan starring in a mangled staring. Let me try that again. Michael B. Jordan staring at a mangled hand while trying to stay silent enough to avoid detection by a sentient killing machine. You don't need much more than that to pull off an effective claustrophobic thriller like this one. Jordan has such an expressive face. It's a testament to the Blur team, led by director Alex Beatty, that they're able to translate that to this animated pressure cooker, featuring a downed pilot trying to survive the very building meant to keep him alive. But it's more than just a panic room in space, fitting given the show's Fincher backing. There's a sense of spatial geography here that, when combined with some sound trickery and an unexpected cat joke, really sell this as a focused battle of wits. It's a bit of a misleading statement with how much detail there is still inside what could easily be a dim, featureless interior. But Life Hutch is one of the prime examples that less can absolutely be more in the world of love, death, and robots. It was fine. It was good, not great. Again, if you just look at some screen stills of this of this episode is exceptionally well animated. It's not even in that uncanny valley. Uncanny valley meaning it sort of looks almost lifelike, but not quite. There's something just quite off that your eye can tell, but your brain can't quite compute what it is. That's off about it. Just again, going back to the animation of stuff like the Animatrix back in the day, back in 99, 2000, that stuff looked cutting edge. And I'm guessing if we went back and watched some of that, it wouldn't look as cutting edge, but this does right now and looks incredible. The animation in this is absolutely incredible. I assume some people might even look at it and say that's real life. Nuh-uh, that's not animated. That's real life. But good animation can only take you so far. You also need a compelling story, and unfortunately, that wasn't here. So let's see how many left. That was the second to last one. The last one was called The Drowned Giant. The synopsis is when a 200-foot tall naked body washes ashore outside a small fishing village, crowds gather to witness the spectacle. A local scientist documents the Leviathan's surrender to nature. So this is another one that Steve Green highlighted here. So let me read what he says. Quote, that season 2 of Love, Death, and the Robots ends with a sigh and not an explosion is a welcome twist. That it comes in a short directed by Miller is doubly surprising. All the cacophony of twisting naked bodies and slit throats and mechanized life forms culminates in a sober, existential response to a single oddity. A mammoth, barn-sized human washes up on the shores of a coastal town. Stepping into J.G. Ballard's story, The Drowned Giant forges its own visual ideas while still feeling more literary than pretty much any of the others that come before it. As we pointed out in our Season 2 review, it's also striking in how it represents a distinct idea of death within the series. It's one that doesn't come at the end of an enemy's weapon, it just happens. Swapping out instantaneous annihilation for the tragedy of slow decay makes for Love, Death, and Robots' most profound idea. Miller can't help but squeeze in one gag near the end that would be right at home in a Deadpool movie. But overall, this stands as proof that for the show, one of its most notable directors and the medium overall, cutting away some of the flashy frills can reveal some beautiful, patient storytelling underneath. And again, this was fine. This was visually made, obviously, with the Unreal Engine, very realistic looking visuals with the body and other people surrounding it and the water and the sand around it. Very, very striking visuals again with this episode. But just overall, just like what is this about? I feel like other episodes in the first season had ideas percolating underneath the storyline, just different ideas going on behind the scenes. And this season was completely lacking, almost completely lacking of any sort of deep, interesting, retrospective ideas about life or death or robots. So that was unfortunate. I will be still holding out hope that maybe season 3 brings it back to the high quality bar that was season 1. So with that, let's move on to Hacks. Just watched episode 6 of this. I believe it's a 9 or 10 episode series starring Jean Smart, again, from Watchmen, Mayor of Easttown, 24. She plays Depression Kitty in Big Mouth, which Dion probably can speak to better. Fargo season 2, and a myriad of other roles. Plays Deborah Vance in this show, not a washed up comedian, but a bitter older comedian. She's still working at the Las Vegas Strip. She has a residency there for, I believe, the last 20 years. So stars Anna Einberger, who is the daughter of comedy writer Chad Einbinder, not Einberger. And original Saturday Night Live cast member Lorraine Newman. Also stars Christopher McDonald, Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore, and Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The synopsis is, it explores a dark mentorship that forms between Deborah Vance, a legendary Las Vegas comedian, and an entitled outcast 25-year-old comedy writer. This is a fantastic show. I love this show. Very, very smart writing. I love the relationship between Jean Smart and Hannah Einberger. I would say Einberger. Einbinder. You expect this to be the sort of thing where Jean Smart is playing the older curmudgeon comedian, and the younger comedian Ava is going to come in here and smooth off the rough edges. Teach her what love is about. Teach her to love again. Melt that cold heart of hers. But it's really just them both being dicks to each other for the entire show, and her just Deborah learning that not learning but understanding that what's funny 40 years ago maybe isn't so funny now, and Ava is sort of learning from Deborah that there's other ways to look at life. So it's a very interesting show. It's a bit more dramatic at the 6th episode. Very, very good show. Highly recommend Hacks on HBO Plus. Moving on, getting to the end here. I finally watched Margin Call, directed by J.C. Shandor, who's done other films such as A Most Violent Year, All Is Lost, and Triple Frontier. I have yet to see A Most Violent Year, but I enjoyed, Triple Frontier from 2019. It was the one about, which was basically, Triple Frontier was basically Treasure of the Sierra Madre, made modern day, and with former special ops, Army, Navy people trying to get money trying to steal a bunch of money from a Ecuadorian warlord person, I guess. Anyways, Margin Call, movie stars Kevin Spacey, I know, Paul Bettany, Jeremy Irons, Zachary Quinto, stacked cast. Penn Badgley, who's in You, the Netflix series You. Let's see, we got Demi Moore, Stanley Tucci, bunch of people in this movie. Great movie about the 2008 mortgage crisis. More than just the mortgage crisis, when the entire world economy basically crashed in on itself because banks were giving home loans to people that couldn't afford them. And so it all came crashing down. I would highly recommend watching The Big Short to also get a good idea of what happened in 2008, 2009. So yeah, very, very good. I love movies that are just about guys sitting around a table, acting their balls off across from each other. And that's exactly what this is. This has Jeremy Irons, Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany, most people know from WandaVision, playing Vision in the Marvel movies now. Jeremy Irons, Zachary Quinto. Zachary Quinto has to play the guy to explain to Jeremy Irons' character exactly what happened. One of the best moments in films in the past 10 to 15 years is when Jeremy Irons just these silent looks, just these looks to him, to Zachary Quinto's character, just like, what are you telling me? This company is bankrupt. That sultry, deep British voice that Jeremy Irons has. Excuse me, sir, are you telling me this company is bankrupt? Incredible movie, incredible acting. I love it. So that was Margin Call. I guess you can get that on Amazon Prime. Rent that over there. I also checked out The Rider from 2017, one of Chloe Zhao's first films. Academy Award winner Chloe Zhao, who will be directing the Eternals coming out this year. That a trailer just dropped this week. But The Rider was from 2017. And the synopsis is, after suffering a near-fatal head injury, a young cowboy undertakes a search for a new identity and what it means to be a man in the heartland of America. So this movie is a lot like Nomadland, in the sense that you have people playing themselves. You have non-professional actors playing themselves, which is very interesting because I feel like when you make a documentary or make something that is about that subject, about the subject you're shooting, the person doesn't really want to, get into their subject life and what their life, what if something traumatically bad happened to them, that they wouldn't want to expose that to the world and have that have their life and the events of their life dramatized and put into a light and made into a movie, and just really have what's happened to them and their story sort of taken out of context and made into entertainment, and that's exactly what she does here, which is she takes the events of this person's life, Brady Jandreau, and the other Jandreaus, his family, and crafts a narrative around that, a fictional narrative around an actual event, and has them sort of played out as actors, which is very, very interesting. Probably not doing it justice, but it has pretty stunning cinematography. The camera placements and the framing and the blocking of this movie is incredible. I would highly recommend it just for the visuals. So that was The Writer from 2017, directed by Academy Award winner Chloe Zhao. Lastly, I watched another Academy Award winning movie, The Octopus Teacher. It won Best Documentary at the 2021 Academy Awards. This was directed by Pippa Eldrick and James Reed. The synopsis is: a filmmaker forges an unusual friendship with an octopus living in a South African kelp forest, learning as the animal shares the mysteries of her world. So this filmmaker, Craig Foster, South American documentary filmmaker, naturalist, and founder of the Sea Change Project, finds a octopus and starts a relationship with it. Fosters a relationship with this one specific octopus, and I guess octopi have a very short lifespan, whether it's naturally a short lifespan or because they are taken out by some prey. But he basically films the entire lifespan of this one specific octopus, and it's stunning cinematography. Filmed in 4K, I believe, or 8K even, and it looks incredible, as do most nature documentaries, things like Planet Earth and Blue Planet, things like that. Looks stunning in 4K and HDR on Netflix. I'll simply just watch it for that. That was My Octopus Teacher from 2020. It won Best Documentary at the Academy Awards, and I would highly recommend that and agree with that. So that is all I've been watching for the past few weeks. We might be ramping up the podcast again in a couple weeks here, with Loki coming out on June 9th. They're now coming out on Wednesdays or Thursdays, late Wednesday night, early Thursday. So the plan is to do another podcast, bring the podcast back in full, record it that Saturday, put it out on June 14th. So look forward to that. So with that, I'm Damien, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.